members, the participants, and the participants that are on the waiting lists as well. I want to acknowledge that. Thank you very much to the Brothers of Charity, to Ability West, and to Dara McCosty, the chair of the steering group, to Olive and her team, but to everybody that's in this room and has made the time this morning to join us, and also to the staff of all organisations. It's important to say that. So you've all heard now the different people I've had to engage with back in 2021, and you heard very clearly from the proactive carers, of which I've had more than one Zoom call with now. I will be, and I was a novice at that stage, let's be clear. I wasn't long in the seat as Minister for Disabilities when they set their sights on me, and it was Zoom calls. I still remember sitting in my office above in Portona having the first Zoom call and going, God, they're serious about this. The level of frustration that they vented to me that day was 10 years in the making that I got. And they were getting a chance at a Galway minister and they weren't going to leave it on the pitch. They left every bit of it with me. So there was no doubt when I came off the call exactly what my priorities had to be. And I think all of our speakers that I've had this morning, including the chair who's officiating it, has actually brought it all together very, very well. And everybody has brought an important piece to the conversation. And I think the one to me that sums it up really is what the HSE has said here with Mary. Mary and John and all within the HSE, as in Ability West, as in Brothers of Charity, they live from crisis to crisis, unfortunately. There is no capacity to build in anything innovative into their system of delivery. That's the unfortunate way the system is. So I had to find a mechanism that we always weren't just doing a one-track polling. We needed to actually build capacity into it. And how you build any capacity in any department is you say you'd love to do a pilot. That's how you build capacity. I've learned that, unfortunately. You say you'd like to do a pilot. So I would like to do a pilot, and I'd like to have a demonstrator model, and I'd like to ensure that we could work with families who, just like Stephen has said, with young people who have ambition, with young people who want to have equal rights to participate in their communities of their choice, and to listen to the voice of the person with disabilities. Because if we don't do any of that, the UNCRPD was worth nothing whatsoever. So action to me speaks louder than words. So the action was to ring-fence the funding and actually to put the money where our mouth was. And while 32 is what is the demonstrator pilot of it, what I would say to the families that are on the wings waiting to come in on it is, I have Councillor Shane Curley, I see I have Councillor Evelyn Parsons, I know the Cathaoirleach has just left. And when I was sitting down there, Darren, I was just doing a little bit of thought. See, I was looking at it, believe it or not, we have 6 municipal areas in Galway County alone. And if every municipal area went away and said, actually, I will work with Olive and her team, and we will find you 10 appropriate houses in each of our municipal areas, I could then actually say I've dealt with 150 people, and we could actually sort it. Because if you can work with I'm actually putting this back out on the councillors, and not putting you on the spot, but you know what I mean. Because see, I've Evelyn from Ballinasloe, and I've Shane from Lochray, and himself has gone from Moore, and I'm just looking further afield because it's a really difficult objective what we're trying to do here and breaking down those barriers. And those barriers can only be broken down. And it was Sean that said it to me. Sean has taught me a lot of his wisdom. He's packed a lot into my 3 years as a minister. He has made sure I've understood every one of his 40 years in his wisdom, sometimes when he'd be talking to me. But he's right. He's right about the capacity. He's right about the capability, but he's also right about the collaboration. And it's that collaboration, if we could bring it together, to actually support Olive and her team. Because Olive and her team are going to be inundated after today's meeting, after today's launch, because families are going to turn and say to themselves, and we have that right too for our son or our daughter. We now need to look through that lens. And Sean is right again when he says that this is only the start, and it will be fabulous. But I want also to be able to say to people, we should not just think of the number 32, because if we keep thinking of the number 32, we then lose the ambition straight away. We can't lose that ambition, we can't lose that drive. So what I'm saying is, if every municipal area was able to come back with the 10 properties, I know that Galway City Council, Galway County Council, with their elected representatives, can assist you, Olive, and your teams in finding appropriate property in the appropriate locations to meet the appropriate needs. That in itself would actually be a huge lift to ensure that in your demonstrator project, you're working with the people, but if they can assist with the properties and the agencies and everything else, then we would have real collaboration. Then we're lifting your load a little bit, and we go back to the sailing terminology of what you've used and know Brian Gallagher knows very well, of which I enjoy as well. Now we've our hand on the tiller. Now we're getting out of the port, and now we have the Aran Islands on our site. We've left the docks. We're out. And that's what we need to be for our people with disabilities. We need to be ambitious and we need to have drive. And the best thing that Mary O'Halloran then could say to me is they're spending the money, Minister, quicker than you'd ever imagined. Any chance of more. That's where we need to get to. Any chance of more. Not the crisis piece. Because the crisis happens and we all understand the crisis. But what we want to do is build solid foundations for our young people going forwards. So in actual fact, what the local authorities have always said to me, not just in Galway, right across the country, and I have two other groups in the East Coast and CHO, and I'm biting at the bit to be part of this pilot project. But they have secured 10 million euros worth of projects and properties already. What they're looking for me is actually to have the health support. They have 10 million euros worth of properties got, because that's the capacity building that's taking place in Dublin. Now I know that that building is taking place down here locally. We're not looking for that amount of value, but what we're looking for is enough to support 150 people. But my job is to support Olive and meeting the needs of the individual and putting that person at the centre, so that when we put when a person acquires the key, as Stephen says, when they get that key, that they have that wraparound support, that that multidisciplinary team is there, that the supports are there and the capabilities have been built and maxed up, so as the relationship doesn't fall down. So I'm totally committed to this. I probably yesterday rang Marina and Sean. I was having a moment. As a Minister for Disabilities, it's very understandable I have moments, for the simple reason being is I live on a crisis, I live on a knife edge day in, day out, and it's very, very hard to push through as the Minister of Disability. Like, I could read you my speech that they wrote for me in the department, but it would be totally and utterly wasted on every one of you here today, because it would not capture the mood. It would capture the mood of what I would deliver on the floor of the Dáil. Yeah, I secured 195 million, but what you want to know is how is it being delivered? What does it mean for me on the ground? And how is it impacting? What will it make to the lives of Stephen and all of the Stephens? What will it make to the lives of the families? And how will it improve? What's in it for the staff? There's a few stools that we could have as well, Cara. Like there's the staffing stool, there's the provider stool, there's the family stool, and then there's us all together. The word I use in my office all the time when I turn to Noel, who's not with me today, I'm joined by Mary, and what I turn and say is, Noel, I've got the three-legged donkey. Because that's where, when I come up with harebrained ideas and I want to do something, because I'm trying to step outside the model. Because just remember, we spent our years in disability. 2.1 million was the amount when I came in as Minister for Disability. We've spent that 2.1 million always looking at it through a health lens. We had never once looked through it as a rights-based lens. That's the difference. So me moving from the Department of Health to the Department of Disability, which I like to call equality, which really means rights. I'm now starting on my own journey for the department on actually securing funds that actually has a rights-based focus. Right to transport, right to education, right to employment, right to live in my community, meet your goals, my community, my way, my life. That's rights. That's UNCRPD in action. That is actually when we're doing what we're supposed to do, what we signed up to. See, I know all the providers believe in all of this, because they're doing it every single day. I know the HSE is committed to it, but sometimes the fog does come down, and it's hard for individuals outside of all of that to understand the commitment. It is there, but moving departments to me was instrumental. So I only moved department last March. Your project came through in budget 2022, so it's taken us till here to get Olive and the team set up. A lot of work has been achieved because we also have identified the waiting list, and which is wonderful. Like, that just tells me that the need that is there, that needs to be fulfilled. So Olive is going nowhere very quickly. There's a lot of work there for Olive to do. But I suppose, in saying that, this demonstrator, this is a demonstrator as well, this morning, tells us that that's the ambition. It's now up to all of us players to enact it. And it is about enactment now. And I throw it out to my council colleagues to partner with us, to help us with the housing agencies, to move it along. Let's get the demonstrator done ahead of schedule, is what I would be saying. Let's see what we can do and move on, because there's so many more waiting on the wings. And can I just acknowledge the role Bernard O'Regan played in this? He's our head of disabilities in the HSE. Sometimes when I would go to Bernard that I'd like to spend money, he gets very nervous. And on this one, he didn't get nervous. He said, you have good teams in Ability West and the Brothers of Charity. There's really good experience there, Minister, that can actually pilot this out for you. So that's at a national level. So when you have the support of national office, when you have good providers on the ground, you have a good team of people in the HSE with Mary and John Fitzmaurice, you just know that this is the right thing to do. I do think it'll be a flagship for what's about to go further afield. So I'll finish on the final words, which is the one quote of the day to me is, service to humanity is the best work of life. And I'll leave it with you there. Thank you.